but it's here, it returns. If we have a little look at the table going into 2026, is this everything you expected? Who's impressed you?
Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that's a bit old.
Can we still say that? Are we still doing that?
Well, I said it to you about a week ago.
No, I think in terms of the league table, the obvious is Manchester City, 6 points clear at the top. I think gives them a very, very strong platform to go on for the second half of the season, of course, with very strong challengers behind in Chelsea to see if they can shut the gap, you know, make it a really tense title race. But I think in terms of teams which have impressed me, I think Tottenham. I think the Martin Ho effect, you know, what he's done so far in the opening half of the season, the way the team operates, the way the team plays. I think the structure, you know, the mentality has shifted really quickly, and that's why they're sitting fifth and very closely behind Manchester United and Arsenal. Not
just you that's been impressed, but clearly someone up top has been impressed by Spurs because they've let them go out and bring some more players in. They've done the best business through January so far.
Yeah, we'll find that out, won't we? They've certainly done the most business. And I've actually a lot of respect for Martin Ho, because when he first came in, he was willing to back himself and stick with the players they had. He wanted to see everyone train every day, perform in games. They've had a really good first half of the season, but he obviously has ideas and ambitions of where he wants to take the team. And now he's been able to probably give himself the chance to actually be quite demanding in this window. There's possibly the potential that the next 3-4 months might have a little more varied results in bringing those players in. But then what I think that will do very well is set him up then to go and say, pre-season I've already got players that have worked for me for 6 months, and then we can start again and really push. Because a few teams have tried to push closer to the top four. No one's really got to that point where we feel, yeah, they can really test them. I think if Spurs can get in a consistent period of new players playing, I think next season they could be very well set up.
So it's about next season, I mean, because they're close enough to those top three to make a dent this season if those signings pay off.
Yeah, and I think bringing in, you know, young talent, very exciting players, Gobset, and then of course Julie Blackstead, who's got WSL experience already, which will definitely help her transition into the side. I think they've been looking, you know, to strengthen in wide areas, and Julie Blackstead brings versatility in that sense. You know, she can play high left wing. I like the idea of playing a left footer on the right wing at times. You know, she can cut inside, and she's got a terrific left foot, the way that, you know, in terms of shot and end product. And I think the way that Martin Ho, like Rachel's just said, you know, he's adding layers now. And I spoke with Martin Ho in the off-season. I do remember saying on one of these shows around, you know, he's very keen, like Rach said, to look at the players first and go, right, what do we need? Because it's very easy to just go into the market for going into the market's sake. But what are you going in for? Are you building a squad that's going to, well, bringing players in that are going to enhance your already good squad they've got? And I think we've seen, you know, a lot of resourcefulness from Tottenham in terms of the manager getting the best out of the players they've got. So he's certainly earned that luxury to be rewarded in the window.
Where were you when I needed you Boxing Day sales? Going into the market for market's sake. That was me, scattergun approach. Let's go back to today's game then, Arsenal-Manchester United. It's one of those games, I said it's a brilliant way to start 2026, but so much on it, rides on it for both teams. Arsenal have been consistent at home though this season.
They've been consistent. I think home for them has certainly been a fortress, and that's probably more of a thing that extends much further back, as we see here in the graphic, you know, since November 24, an incredible run. Obviously we see they scored more earlier on in this sort of run that we're looking at.
Is that a concern that that's dropped off?
No, I think there was an inevitability, and to some degree I think a lot of teams go there now and are very well prepared to be defensively difficult to break down, because when you see how good they are at home, you've got to try and do something to limit what you can, and some teams have had success. Villa obviously earlier on this season got a good point. That might be a game that Arsenal might look at and think that was too dropped, but you know, and then the other result where they've not got the win was Chelsea, which obviously was a very competitive game. So they're amazing at home, but you'd also expect them to be, because of the quality they have. They should be up that end of the table. I think both them and United today are in a much better place than they were when they faced each other earlier in the season, which I think it will be very competitive. But hopefully we get some goals.
Well, for Manchester United, the point of difference is that they're in all these competitions, which they weren't previously. The introduction of being in Europe too. Sometimes the thin squad has been tested, but he's gone to some lengths to try and address that.
Yeah, and I think that it's been very clear for everyone to see. The transition into Europe is never going to be easy straight away. It's what Manchester United have been working for many years now, under Mark Skinner. They finally got into Europe. They qualified for the group stages, which they've done. They've played really well. You know, the home game against PSG, you look at the 12th of November, I thought they're fantastic. I don't think 2-1 really in that game as a result really does it justice. I thought Manchester United were outstanding. That day we saw those performance levels and they didn't back it up. They were beaten by a very strong Manchester City side in the derby. Wolfsburg away, difficult game, European giants in Wolfsburg. But yeah, I think the way that they've adapted and the way that they've supported Mark Skinner as a club in the window has been fantastic. Not just bringing in players that might blossom in 6 to 12 months' time. They're bringing in players, in my opinion, who can blossom now in a Manchester United shirt, with Leah Schuler in particular, to provide that competition for Elizabeth Turland in that sort of striker role. And that's what Mark Skinner's going to need. He's going to need that rotation. You know, 60-30 players, I call them. One player might start, play 60, and if the output hasn't happened, you bring the next one on who's hungry to go and make an impact. And Mark Skinner's management in that sense has already proven to be successful because it worked with Melvin Mallard as well, who's come off the bench a number of times for Mark Skinner and scored and assisted and been effective. So that's the sort of hunger and mentality you see in this Manchester United team. I like the way they play and the way they're going to play against Arsenal today and the way that Arsenal play. I see these two teams cancelling each other out. It'll be so interesting to see how it evolves this afternoon.
There's a lot of noise around Manchester. I mean, when is there not a lot of noise around Manchester United with the men's side, changing manager, for Mark Skinner, again, to have to navigate all these waters too and then keep things fairly consistent on the pitch? Is he impressing you with how he's managing everything this season again?
He's doing a really good job, and I agree with Izzy's point. And to add the Champions League's difficult. We already knew at the start of the season they were light. And in some of those Champions League games, he was brave in how he made changes, he gave players minutes in games where you probably maybe looked and said, has he picked his best 11 here? But he was respectful of the fact the volume of games, they got enough results to put them in a position in the Champions League that meant they were going to progress. And I think he has done a very good job. I think obviously that there is always noise around Manchester United. I think Mark does a good job of just focusing on the women's side, which I think he's able to do. And he's not really too bothered about a lot of that noise. He's a very focused manager, I think is how he comes across.